I thought I'd do a sit down video for this week, partly because I've caught up to date and I'm spending time with my brother and Hayden's just unpacking from the music festival. Not that interesting to film really. So I thought I'd go more into land plans, share a little bit more, and I'd be keen to hear your thoughts too. So I don't know if I've been clear what our long-term plan is for the land. Like, we're doing a little cabin right now, but I don't know if I've explained that we do plan to do a proper, through the council, small house right in the corner of the land, make the most of those views. That's the long-term plan. Yeah, but you know, it's going to take a little while. We don't really want to get a mortgage out for that, and so we're going to just take our time and a few little quirks. Hayden's going to hopefully build as much as he can, and hopefully I'll be able to help him out soon too. And also it'll probably be a small house just so that it's more affordable. So that's kind of our plan. And the cabin, the next stage, once I'm back on the land and Hayden's recovered a bit, we'll start doing the sides. Probably buy the wood locally. It's not the cheapest option, but it's the easiest. This time we might just get it delivered because it will be longer as well, which will be a bit challenging. And then we can pick up the sliding door from Hamilton as well. I've already received a reminder voicemail from them. We should have picked it up a little bit sooner than we will. And we'll start fitting in the sides, which is exciting. The next stage after that is then putting on the recycled cladding, and I've got my eye on some zinc corrugated iron for the roof. So it's that kind of balance between keeping it affordable but also keeping it looking nice. Like, I'm trying, but I'm learning at the same time. This is definitely a learning experience, I think. We'll also be getting some guttering, and then we can start collecting rainwater and putting it into my lovely water tank. Start using that. And I've somehow already managed to get so much baby stuff. It takes up so much room. I had heard of people having a baby in a caravan. I honestly don't know where all the baby stuff would go. Yeah. I've already got too much to fit in the caravan. Carpet. I went to a place that I'd found online that looked like it had a lot of seconds or offcuts, and I happened to find 100% wool, super thick, looked really warm, and it had dropped dramatic price from like 350 I think down to 159 per meter, and this was 3.6 meters wide each strip. So I thought I had the best deal ever. People were absolutely lovely, and they loaded it into the back of my ute for me as well. Now I'm not so sure about my getting it, because I then saw an even better deal on Trade Me. But you know, you don't know what the wool, you know, the carpet actually is from a small photo online. Hopefully I still did the right thing, and it's really taking out a huge amount in the back of the ute. It really is. And then we're going to have to store it for at least a month until the cabin's at that stage. So it's going to be a bit of a hassle. I seem to have a knack for buying things that are not particularly easy. And while I was in Auckland, I visited Dad as well. And I had my crutch, he had his walking stick, and I must admit it did entertain quite a few people up there. And I'm starting to feel very pregnant and a bit uncomfortable as well. I did manage to capture the baby moving in my stomach earlier today, so I just calmly breathed, and then any other movement, that's the baby. Yep, he can be pretty active in there. I've got less than 2 months to go. I'm going to start slowing down a month before, and then I'm going to have a month off at least from YouTube videos, so when I disappear, it probably means the baby's arrived. And an update with my sciatica pain. I was talking to a pregnant friend and she said she had sciatica pain earlier in her pregnancy and went to get acupuncture, went a couple of times, and the pain disappeared. And then I randomly ended up talking to someone working in a shop and they had the same story. Sciatica pain, acupuncture, went away. So I thought, why not? Why not try? I must admit I've never tried acupuncture before and probably was a bit unsure about it. I went to the same place as my friend. They had a cancellation and I managed to kind of slot in. Very odd experience. After a couple of exercises, I basically had a needle put in my hand, my ankle, and a whole lot in the main area of pain. And then I just lay there for half an hour and had a chat. Then the needles came out. Straight away, the pain seemed to have shifted. He said the muscle was basically being reset, and it might take a couple of days. And it seemed to help a lot. That main area of pain disappeared. I'm now able to roll over in bed without being in extreme pain, and I can now hobble around the house okay. It's a little sore, but it's manageable levels. Now it's more if I'm going up or down stairs, or if I'm going a distance, or say around the supermarket, then it starts to get sore, really sore again. So he's also given me the name of a place in Hamilton. We'll just see. I've also put a few baby items onto Tributors. I know a couple of you mentioned wanting to purchase something for the baby. I'll keep adding things as I realise what I'm missing. At the moment, the main thing I think is like cloth nappies and a couple of like warm merino clothing items, just because I'm a bit nervous that it might be quite cold during the end of May, June time. And heating over winter. I would have loved to have a wood burner. That's something that we'll definitely have in the house eventually, but we can't add one into the cabin without permission from the council. So at the moment I'm leaning towards trying a diesel heater. I think that's the influence from the caravan lifestyle. So many people have raved about them to me, so I thought, why not try it in the cabin? Like it's still a small space and it should help. So we'll see. That's what I'm thinking right now. And Patreon. I haven't actually mentioned Patreon on this channel for over a year. The honest truth is, on my last mention encouraging people to join, I had one comment where they said it was in bad taste because the lockdowns were just starting, and that really stuck with me. So it made me kind of hesitate to mention Patreon since then. And why am I mentioning it now? Well, it's been over a year. Where has the time gone? And I also wanted to say that I plan to pause the Patreon payments for the month of June when this little guy pops out, just so I can fully focus on him and not feel guilty about no YouTube videos. And I plan to keep posting on Patreon with like couple of photos of the baby, but I just want to not pressure myself for that first month. Yeah, that's the plan. So I thought, I guess, yeah, I'm mentioning Patreon now to keep everyone updated on what's happening. And I do want to say a huge thank you to all my Patreons. I'm extremely grateful for your continued support. And back to the house plan. Because of the neighbour complaint, it has encouraged me and Hayden to start thinking of what are the next steps, what would the council really want us to do next? So we've been thinking the next logical step maybe would be to find out where the septic tank or the wastewater would go on the land. Also to try to figure out where it would go before we start doing too much on the land, before we start putting up fences and planting too many trees and shrubs and things. We should figure out where the septic tank, grey water, can go on the land. So I've started researching a little bit. Our closest neighbour, who's absolutely lovely, they recently put in a septic tank, so I've been able to ask her for the cost breakdowns and how they've been finding it. Sounds like there's a guy in the area who can do the drawing for where it would go on the land. There's a few issues if we go with the traditional septic tank. You can't plant trees on it or have a building or veggie patch or anything like that. I think it can't go too close to the stream either, so there's quite a few restrictions with where it can go. And I've started looking into how the septic tank works. It sounds like all your toilet waste, shower and all the stuff from the kitchen goes into a big tank under the ground, and a lot of the waste settles and then a lot of the waste goes and floats at the top, and then there's a filtering system, and then it goes out into these pipes and is slowly released into the land. I'm a little bit confused about how that is a good system, but this is the most common system for New Zealand rural setups, and the council is happy with this. I started looking a little bit more into it today. Sounds like you can buy the tank. I know the neighbours had it properly installed, but I wouldn't mind doing the pricing and figuring out, is it worth us doing it ourselves or should we get professionals to come in? And then the place that sold the septic tank also had this interesting addition, and it's called Integra Wastewater Treatment System. The really interesting part that I've found with this that makes me want to learn more is it said a simple septic tank treatment treats approximately 30% contaminants in your wastewater, and then the rest is treated in your soil. But with this system, it treats up to 90% of the contaminants in your wastewater. So it's made me very intrigued to learn more. And then a different option, I am wondering about composting toilets. I actually came across one that's council approved. It's one that is used by the Department of Conservation for a lot of their huts which are in the middle of nowhere. I'm intrigued to learn more. I am. Straight away, I know Hayden wouldn't like that it's on a platform, so you have to go up some steps to use this toilet. What I do like is you're not putting the waste into your land, it's just becoming usable soil. Maybe not soil that I'd use in the vegetable patch, but maybe soil that I could use around the fruit trees or to build up the topsoil a little bit around the garden. Just not the veggie patch. I can't quite handle that. And then I also saw they do grey water tanks, which I feel more comfortable with coming from the caravan side of things because I'm already used to grey water tanks. Grey water is something from the shower or your bathroom or kitchen sink. There's no toilet waste in there whatsoever. So it just feels like you would contaminate the land less. It just feels a bit more environmentally friendly. But again, I need to learn more. Like, I've only just scratched the surface, and this is Hayden's obsession. He loves this type of stuff, so I'm sure in the future we will dive a lot deeper into this topic. And with the house plan and the cabin, we need to take into consideration the weather in our location, because it does rain a lot and it gets cold in winter. Not cold enough for snow on the ground, but apparently it can get snow on the mountains around us, and there is a lot of frost. So we need to plan for the weather. I'm keen on a wet room for the house, so a place that you can throw off your gumboots and your rain jacket, maybe even have a washing machine right there when you're splattered in mud from exploring outside, and it can just, all the mess can stay in this one area, and then you can pop into the bathroom and get nice and clean. So that's kind of one part of the house that I'm keen to have, a wet room. And then we learnt this summer that it does get really hot on the land too, so we need sun protection as well. And my food forest. I haven't really touched a huge amount on the whole idea. I'm doing a bit more than just planting a few rows of fruit trees. I want to create a forest, one that has plants that support the fruit trees and everything's connected. I'm hugely influenced by a couple living in Riverton, just outside of Invercargill, right at the bottom of New Zealand. I'll include a couple of their interviews if you're curious. They do, permacultural gardening, where different plants support each other, and it's a little bit chaotic, but to be honest, that's my favourite type of garden. Slightly natural, chaotic effect. I'm also hugely influenced by a company called Koanga Gardens in Wairoa. I've mentioned one of their books before. I've got an ant problem. I've got about 3 of their books, and I plan to get more as well. They also sell seeds and plants specifically for a food forest, and they're just a little bit alternative but very inspiring as well. They have a lot of knowledge about gardening. And then I've bought some plants from Kahikatea Farm. Their specialty seems to be in plants that support the food forests, that I've actually found really hard to find anywhere else except for through Koanga Gardens as well. And I found the COVID's really thrown out a lot of the plant supplies, so it has been a bit challenging tracking down these plants. But the ones I've focused on are the nitrogen fixers, which apparently these wonder plants for fruit trees, and mineral accumulators. So the plants harvest the minerals from the soil, and then they drop their leaves onto the ground, and it feeds the fruit trees. And chickens. I'm really actually looking forward to getting some chickens in the future. We'll probably start with just the egg-laying ones. There are a couple of good breeds in New Zealand, but then I am keen to also get chickens that are good for eating as well. I'm comfortable with that, I think. Chickens are amazing at keeping the insect population at a manageable level, so they should be very helpful with the gardening too, hopefully. But it's a huge learning curve. I've never had chickens before, so it will be interesting to experience. And then sheep, their first contribution will be to keep the grass down. Now that that Splore has gone ahead, I know Hayden is super keen to get a sit-down lawnmower. It must be a guy thing. I'm not that bothered. Like, I'd say throw in a fence and get the sheep in as soon as possible, but no, he's keen on this sit-down lawnmower. Oh well. But we will get sheep. It's been recommended to me to get ones that molt themselves, but I'm slightly obsessed with the idea of getting their wool as well and making something with it. Yeah, it's something that I would like to try as well. And vegetables. I had personally hoped to have done at least one veggie patch this season, but just hasn't happened for me this year. So at least now we know where on the land the veggies can grow, like where we want to have them long term. And I'm already thinking about having a greenhouse as well, so that we can have some plants growing through winter. Well, I think that is a good overview of what's been running through my mind with this land. Keen to get back to finishing this cabin. I will admit that my nesting instincts are going strong. I am keen to kind of get that space set up. I feel so big at this angle. Do I look bigger? I suppose the stomach is first in the shot.